Hi, and welcome to Syrup Shots Gaming, the only podcast like going to a diner late at night and taking a shot of syrup. Probably a bad idea, but we still do it anyway. With me, as always, Dave.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
It's going well on my end. It's going well on my end. So you were telling me earlier you were starting to get the ground going again for esports club for your.
Yeah, that's right. We are still trying to get things going. We have a few couple hurdles that we need to still get over before the September 24th sign up date. The problem with that is that my contact at the main office of the school is still struggling with. We have a situation, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. We had a number. We just quite frankly, we didn't have enough bus drivers to start the year with, honestly. And so the issue with that is that eventually it got to the point that they just had to say, okay, we're only going to do K through 4 busing. That's all we're going to do. And so we have had now 2 weeks, though, where some students just don't have a ride to school, and that's the issue. And so, maybe mom and dad can't bring them. So there's that. And so my contact at the main office, the man who works with me on this, he's in charge of that.
Oh,
I haven't been able to contact him so much. So luckily, my student team captain, he's a great kid, and he is really up and up on this stuff to the point he does so well. He has had to turn down scholarships for his playability because it's to schools that don't have the program he wants. But he's being scouted, just to
nice.
put it in perspective. But he was able to find a kind of how they do tryouts for one of the local colleges, and we just borrowed that. So he took that. Earlier today, because I'm also, while Rocket League, I can coach now because I have more experience, but luckily I have an extremely experienced team. And luckily my team captain can take a good chunk of the duties with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you and I competed in Smash when we were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we were melee kids, sometimes having to cart a CRT TV around, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're not that good anymore, but we'd still like to think so. But I was looking at for how to do a tryout for a Smash team because the way it works for the group that we go through, it's a 3-person team for competing in Smash Brothers, and the way you have player 1, player 2, player 3. Now, 2 teams from a different school, each from a different school, will go up against each other. The player 1s will verse each other, the player 2s will verse each other, and then the player 3s will verse each other.
Best 2 out of 3 wins.
Best out of 3 wins, of course, but it's 3 different people each time. So we're looking at, and we didn't want to name them, like varsity, JV, and freshmen. So we call them S rank, A rank, and B rank. So we are having tryouts this week, but I was looking this week. I was just sitting there. I'm like, how is the best way to do this? And so I was looking today, and I think what I'm going to do, because we have 7 people for Smash Brothers. So the way it's going to work, we're automatically going to have 2 teams, and that last person, if you want to be our substitute for all times, we'd love to have you. But that's the way it's going to work. But I think the way I've kind of figured to do it is I think I'm going to have 3 tournaments, including all 7 students. But what I'm going to do then is make like a point value for what placement you come in, because some people, you just end up with like a bad day or a bad run, depending on where you sit in the tournament standings.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that would be a good way to do it, so we can kind of add the scores up. So let's say one kid came in first place in the first tournament, came in second the second tournament, and then maybe came in first again. Well, they'll probably have a really high score. They'll probably be the team captain, possibly for S. Well, maybe not. I also have to look for leadership abilities, because I have noticed that I have one student that is really good at fighting games, but I would also say he's very vocal and boisterous about his abilities.
Mm,
So I don't think I would put him in charge because if let's just say if this were the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he would be the Raphael. He's good. He can back up his brash attitude, but at the same time, you would never want him in charge.
maybe more like Slash, better on his own.
Yeah, better on his own. Yeah, he can be the substitute if he's going to behave like that.
So
But I think that's how. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I have a recommendation for your tournament for them, um, just so they can kind of show how they're good, how they play against everyone. Make it a round robin tournament.
Okay. Uh,
Way round.
I did see that as well. I'm trying to figure out what a round robin is, though.
Essentially, way it works there is they play against everyone, everyone versus
Mhm,
everyone else. So there should be 6 matches total. Everyone plays against each other there, and then whoever has
mhm.
the most wins is the winner. And if there's ties, that's when you go to playoffs.
Okay. Okay. That would work too. That would work too.
And then that way you get in a sense of, okay, not only are they good in just this one situation, but against a variety of different players.
Okay. But so in total, that would be what, like 36 matches then? If well, no, 7 times 7. So whatever, not 6 times 6. Yeah. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would be it would be 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. All right. Yeah, that could work too. That could work too. We'll just have to see.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I like that idea though. That would work too. Okay. And for Splatoon, since we only had 5 kids sign up, it's just kind of like you're in.
yep. We'll determine at a later date who's going to be the substitute.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily enough, with that team, though, that just seems like a group of friends who really just like Splatoon. So I think if we were to cycle one in every now and then, I don't think they would argue in the slightest. So
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's going to be as competitive as Rocket League is going to be this year because we've got 4 of our 6 members returning this year, and they have been talking about a very talented and very cutthroat freshman student who has come in this year that they've been playing with a lot already.
Nice.
So we'll just have to see. Yeah, there might be freshmen on S rank team. Who knows?
Stranger things have happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm
Yep.
excited
Yep.
to
Yep.
I'm excited to kind of follow your guys' teams this year and see how they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be. It's going to be something. Luckily, we did secure. Knock on wood. I don't have it in my hands just yet. Again, it's one of these things where I've got some people's word that it's coming, but we did manage to secure a Switch bundle for the school district.
Nice.
The only thing now I just need finally verbal confirmations from people on certain things with info attached to it. So I know that the group we go through has now started bugging me for billing information, and it's just like I'm not the guy for that, and I sure as heck am not going to be paying for it out of pocket. Now, I have promised the students other things, though, and it's just like if I have to pay for this out of pocket, I will. So they asked, "Are we going to have all the DLC for Smash Brothers?" And I said, "Yes. If it has to come out of my pocket, you will have that. But I'd prefer it not. But luckily, the stipulations is the kids don't have to have a main if they don't want to. I recommended that they do, and they're allowed to choose from the entire roster. There's no bans. There's only bans on stages.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the stages are pretty restricted though. So
I'm going to guess no items.
no items. Stage hazards turned off.
5
The
stock.
ones that are. I'll have to double check that. I think that it's 5 stock with an 8-minute timer.
That's pretty
Uh,
standard.
Yep. And then also the stages. I don't even think they're allowing necessarily the like Omega and Battlefield forums for stages. I think you just literally have to pick those stages. But they're also allowing in like Smashville and Pokemon Stadium 2, things like that.
Things that
So
aren't too that might have miscellaneous platforms, but aren't too crazy.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
but no,
I
no New Pork City.
exactly. Or the Kirby one that takes forever.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing, sir? I mean, that's what I've been doing. That's where most of my time has been going this week.
So the the better question isn't what I've been playing. The better question is how have I been playing?
Oh, okay. I
So
was afraid you were going to go to who I've been playing, and then I was going to, what are we doing here, Tyler?
no.
How have you been playing?
So I've been back at my old grind of Destiny 2.
I'm
But
sorry.
no, don't be. It is in its golden age right now. But I've gotten a new controller to play for it with on my PC.
Okay, it looks like the Super Nintendo controller and the PlayStation controller had a slight baby with that.
It does. It's called the 8BitDo Pro 2 controller.
Okay.
And this thing is amazing. So, first off, very comfortable. It's like a more comfortable PS2 controller with
Okay.
an actual old school D-pad.
Nice.
Okay. Back paddles.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Cool.
There's also this little switch right here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
This has 4 Bluetooth slots on it. So it connects to my Switch, it connects to my Android TV, it connects to my iPad, and it connects to my PC.
Wow.
Without having to repair it each time. I just flip the switch to the different ones.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yep.
That would be very useful.
And then the last super cool thing is there's an app that goes with this where I can customize my controller. I can decide what buttons go where. I can change the sensitivity of the sticks and the sensitivity of the analog triggers.
Wow. Very cool.
It is.
That sounds right up a fighting gamer's alley.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just honestly, save for not having HD Rumble and NFC, this gives the Switch Pro controller a run for its money.
Okay, okay. I still need to get one of those. I just haven't.
honestly, Dave, get this instead.
Oh yeah.
It pairs up with the Switch, and has all the functionality save for the NFC, but in the HD Rumble. But you've got your Joy Cons for that.
True. True.
And $50.
Okay. Well, I'll give it some thought. I don't know. It seems like a lot of the Switch games though that I'm like the Joy Cons and the controller grip seem to work just fine. I might get a couple different grips though that might widen it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But...
yeah. No. It is a super comfy. Oh, that's the other thing. Is I can save on board 3 different profiles for what the buttons do for each of the Bluetooth settings.
Okay, cool. Wow. So 12 in total?
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it has been it's such a good feel.
All right. Well, since the next episode coming out here for the podcast is called Tyler Can't Count because he accidentally uploaded them out of order. So for those of you listening, I am just started actually this. Well, I started it last weekend on Sunday, and I was able to play a good bit last night. But I am now fully into Scarlet Nexus by about like 12 hours now, I'd say. And after my initial impressions of just like the loading screen and stuff, I now have a good bit of time with it. I am enjoying it.
But
there are, well, even then the buts though are just just little things. They're nothing I would say that's major, but I guess what it is that compared to all that IGN footage I was watching on at Phil's apartment when I spoke about this previously. In that, they're just showing every exciting scene of the game, whereas in the actual gameplay itself, there isn't as much of there. It's just not as it doesn't fit what I guess I thought it would have been in my head, which is something I do try and not to do, but unfortunately it happened for this time. Really, I guess you could kind of classify this as it's trying to be like a Devil May Cry kind of Bayonetta type play style.
It's
But
anime Devil May Cry.
Yeah, but with also like a really, really cyberpunk story. And that's good. And the story is really good and really intriguing so far. It did take a while to kind of get going, but then when it did, it's just like, oh. And then I'm just also kind of like, I wish they would explain that. And then they start explaining it, and it's like, oh, okay. But even then, the thing I would say though is, whereas in Devil May Cry and Bayonetta there was occasional platforming sections and light puzzle solving, there's not so much in this. It's just pure action, which isn't a problem, but it does feel. It reminds me at times of like if the old school 2D brawlers like Final Fight had proceeded for much longer, they'd play like this, I imagine. It's definitely stylish. The music, I will say, is hit or miss. There are some where it's just like, oh, that's pretty catchy. And then there's others like, what is this crap? And then I would also say that's the same. There are some environments in the game that is just like, I'm like, oh, that is so cool to look at. And then there's others, it's just, wow, that is so bland to look at. So I would say it's a game of opposite extremes. It's just, and I definitely am going to finish it. The story has hooked me now, and there are two characters for which to play through. The other system is that you have teammates, and as I said, the thing is all about psychic powers or different powers inspired by psionic abilities, and I was initially of the opinion it's just like, oh, it's just another anime trope of superpowered teenagers. Well, it's that, but at the same time, they also kind of explain it in the game that no, these aren't necessarily teenagers. When this government that they work for, it sounds a little draconian, and if you're identified as having crazy special abilities, you're scouted for being a member of the OSF, which is the Other Suppression Force. And the others are the villains of the game. And if you get scouted for that, you can't say no. You have to become a member and fight for the government. It's basically kind of like the draft. And
so what happens if someone says no?
We might get to that because there are things that the game does talk about like that. But yeah, other things about it is though that apparently as a person ages, their psionic abilities start to kind of waver and wane, just like anything as you age. And so to keep them stable and so that their powers are always at 100%, they are then started up on a regimen of drugs which keep them permanently physically in their basically their late teens. So some of them, I was like talking to a side character, and she's just like, when I was scouted to the OSF, I was so excited, and my sister was so jealous. But now she has kids, and her kids have now outgrown me, and now I'm just tired. But she still looks like she's basically 18. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, dang,
Right.
And so like also there's one, he's close to retirement, so he started to wane off the drugs, and now he's starting to look more like he's hitting probably like 25, or a bit older, and he's starting to get more kind of lines. And it's just also wondering like, how does the coming off of these drugs work? They haven't explained that part just yet. Does suddenly you just hit what you're supposed to be, or what? And but then also apparently it does stuff in weird ways. Like apparently, unfortunately, one of the kids you can meet is named. I keep saying kids, but they're not kids.
Right, one of
Is
the individuals.
they're even called children of the state. So that way to differentiate them from actual children, they get labeled children of the state. So that way the public realizes, oh, looks like a child, totally not a child. You know.
Right.
So he is the brother of the the main the one with the best power, the highest ranking member of the OSF, and he has the ability to teleport. But when he started taking the drugs, it doesn't even look like he had hit basically the first stages of puberty yet. But and I guess it's because how the drugs work, or it's so weird. But he's actually really crazy with physical fitness. And so he's constantly he basically does the Batman routine for bodybuilding, but he doesn't look like he's a day older than 12, but his weapon is literally, think like, the lifting weights that we had to do in like PE or at the
Mm-hmm.
gym. Okay, think just a weighted stick with like four of the 25-pound weights at the end of one. So he's just lugging around basically this base that's just dumbbells on the end of it, because
Nice.
because even though his body is stuck at that age, he actually is that jacked. So, and what's cool though, also, and I'm explaining a lot, and I could shut up here in a minute, but I would say like the last cool thing also, all of your teammates and party members have other abilities. You have people that follow you around, and think like Donald and Goofy from Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
That's how your teammates attack, but you can switch them in and out for other members. But you are all connected through all the cyberpunk systems in the game that allow you to share your powers with your teammates, which can then kind of enhance your own. So the character I'm playing as, she has basically telekinesis and can shoot out, and she uses daggers, like a series of 5 daggers that she kind of shoots out and controls telekinetically. Well, if I decide to link with Shiden, who has electrokinetic abilities, well, suddenly all those daggers now arc together with electricity and shock people. And
Nice.
the other one, the platoon leader, she has duplication. So that allowed me to, if I lifted up an object telekinetically and threw it at an enemy, well, suddenly now there's two of them. And then I upgraded it enough, and also now there's two of me throwing out two sets of daggers and such like that. So, and there's a lot of powers that I'm like, really? Wow, I didn't think of that as a power. So like one of the enemies I've encountered so far, she actually can psychically control sound, and
Ooh.
causes it to disorient you, so it puts you in a confused state, which like reverses your controls.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was annoying. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in here, but I think I might have overhyped myself just a little for the game, and had my expectations been at about normal, I think I would have been maybe a little happier with it. But as it stands, I would say I'm hoping there's some pickup, with some things, but I would have liked more, like maybe just some verticality in the stages, or just a little more light platforming in it, instead of just a lot of eight, run to the next fight, run to the next fight, run to the next fight. The great thing is that right now it's all being held together with really cool battle mechanics and a pretty cool story.
All right then.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I've been contemplating trying at some point. It's just the backlog is fierce right now.
Yeah, and now I haven't played it, I would say I'm glad I got it for PS5. But I lucked out in that I had that mystery $20 I found that helped offset the cost. But at the same time, I probably would have been like, yeah, I would have been more happier had I paid 40, maybe $30 for this rather than the full 60.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've really been playing. A little bit of Pokemon Sword and Shield, trying to get back into competitive with that.
I got you.
Um,
Unfortunately, it seems like have much of the games after X and Y really had much of an end game, except for maybe Alpha Sapphire because, well, that's a remake.
yeah, yes and no. Uh, I really felt like Sun and Moon didn't. Sword and Shield, it they took a completely different approach because it's had the two DLCs. That's after campaign stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I would say with Sword and Shield though, their big thing is they've made competitive play so much easier.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is in the old games, if you wanted to have a Pokemon that had perfect individual values and effort values, EVs and IVs, you would have to hatch forever and a day a perfect Pokemon and
Mm-hmm.
then deliberately train them in a specific way by battling specific Pokemon to level up
Mm-hmm.
their effort values or EVs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this game, they've got something called hyper training
Okay.
that you get end game, and it's basically, oh, do you want to max out this stat? Cool, it's maxed out for that Pokemon.
Wow.
So
I
it's
bet some people loved that, and I bet the ones who hated it hated
see,
it.
and I'm even a little mixed on it because it's made it so easy that that thrill of trying to get the perfect Pokemon isn't really there anymore. But
Yeah.
on the offside, it is a lot of fun to be able to try a bunch of different teams because it's also super easy to get TMs in this game.
Okay.
Um, and using the TMs allows you to learn specific moves, attach specific items. So I've got a bunch of Pokemon that are competitive ready,
Mm-hmm.
but that I mix and match trying to go with the flow there. And each season they have different things that they open up or take out. Like
Mm-hmm.
this season, they're allowing one legendary Pokemon. So
Okay.
things like Mewtwo, Lugia, Ho-Oh, that genre, and then
Okay.
as many of the uh, legendary trios or whatnot. So as many Ultra Beasts, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres that you want on
Okay.
your team.
Oh
And now that there's so many games, that's not a small number anymore.
no, it's not.
I mean, there was like 10 Ultra Beasts. You've got. Let me just see if I can do them in the top of my head real fast. So you have the legendary birds. You have the Galarian
Mhm.
legendary birds, which are the same three Pokemon but with different typing.
Oh, okay.
Articuno is now a psychic flying. Zapdos is fighting flying, and Moltres is dark flying.
And they're still named the same?
Yeah, it's the Galarian alternate form, kind of like how there's
Oh.
Galarian Ponyta, which in Rapidash, which basically looks like a My Little Pony.
Yeah, it looks like they've made them out of cotton candy.
Exactly, exactly. Or how like there's Alolan Raichu, which is psychic electric, and it uses its
Yes.
tail to surf. A similar
Yes,
principle with the
yes.
legendaries here. So
I got you.
legendary birds, legendary beasts from the second game,
Hmm.
the trio of psychic legendaries, and the Reggie trio from the third game. The
Hmm.
fourth game had what was on the fourth one? Was that the I can't remember if it was fourth or fifth that had the uh, genie ones, Tornadus, Landorus, and Thundurus.
Oh, that was black and white, I
That
thought.
that was black and white. Okay, and then
Hmm.
there was the fighting trio where you had Cobaltion, um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically the Three Musketeers.
Yeah. And Keldeo.
Yep, yep. Um, uh, X and Y actually didn't have a legendary trio, and then
Yeah, they really
and
didn't.
no, and then they just brought the legendary birds back, and then Sun and Moon had the oh, I also forgot for Ruby and Sapphire they also had Latios and Latias, the psychic dragons.
Hmm. Yes.
Uh, then you had all the legendary beasts from Sun and Moon,
Hmm.
and then Sword and Shield has all of those plus two new Reggies,
Oh, who'd they add?
Reggie Lecky, the electric Reggie, and
Oh,
Reggie Draco, a dragon Reggie.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, and
Interesting.
then Reggie Gigas, Heat Ran,
Mm-hmm.
Cresselia.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, there's a lot now.
Yes, there is.
uh,
Yes, there is.
got to catch them all.
Oh yeah. Now the number's in the thousands, isn't it?
Not quite. It's
Not
just under.
quite.
Just under.
Oh, okay. For the
Yeah,
next game, then.
yeah, yeah. Interesting that we all thought that Gotta Catch 'Em All was like a challenge. No, that was a demand.
Next on Pokemon Shiv and Shank. All right.
Well, let's take a quick break for our sponsors, and then we'll come back and talk about the topic of the episode.
Sounds good to me.
All right. This episode is brought to you by Syrup Shots Gaming Podcast. Like going to a diner late at night, taking a shot of syrup. It's probably a bad idea, but we're going to do it anyway. If you like this content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know that usual general stuff that people ask you to do. What's that? You want to leave us a review? Fantastic. You can leave a 5-star review, wink wink, at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get this great content. Thank you for choosing to listen to us, and we look forward to bringing you more dumb content in the future. All right, and welcome back to the podcast. So, main topic of the day, PlayStation had a little something something this week.
Oh, PlayStation had a little something something this week.
A little something something.
I was rather impressed. I didn't get to watch it until today. I was trying to clean the house, and I'm like, oh, for background noise, I'll just turn this on. Yeah, I had to sit and watch probably the whole first 22, 25 minutes of the thing. It's only 40 minutes long, you know?
Oh, what a 40 minutes.
Oh, yes. Yes, what a 40 minutes.
So, let's
I,
get
I,
a... Sorry, go ahead.
I will say, the first half had my attention the most. That back half, then I could start cleaning the house a little bit.
Even when they got to the PlayStation Studios games?
Well, when they started talking about the racing games, I'm like,
Oh, yeah, Gran Turismo, yeah.
Gran Turismo. I also, when they were like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 5 is being like remastered, I'm like, don't care. Hey, let's vacuum.
But let's talk...
Everything else, however.
Yeah. Oh, that and that first I'm playing chess but not really trailer for everything PlayStation. I could have done without that.
Yeah, it was cool to see all of the little gaming references in it, but yeah, that was just kind of like, guys, this would have been better for a launch commercial, not for the start of
Right.
the
Year two.
Yeah, that looked like commercials that we saw at the launch of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, that looks like something that's going to be in Monday Night Football.
Yeah, guys, you're about 7 years too late on this one.
So let's start
everything.
everything
Yeah,
up.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Let's start off with thing number one.
Thing number one.
Knights of the Old Republic is coming back.
Okay, now I know how hyped people are for that, but again, I'm not the Star Wars guy in my family. My brother Doug is, but I imagine his mind probably melted ever so slightly when he saw that.
You know who made the original game, don't you?
No.
BioWare.
Oh, okay.
This was their beta test for Mass Effect.
Okay. And but it wasn't them who made the second. It was the company that they do really well on actually like making sequels for companies. Like they did Fallout New Vegas, right? Obsidian? Is that who
Obsidian,
did it?
I think so. Yeah, Obsidian
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the company that,
I
ironically,
thought maybe made it first.
which ironically is now back together, kind of under Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
Because you had Bethesda's now back with Obsidian.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
true.
but yeah, I'm excited for that. I've dabbled with the first game, but it was just one of those things where it needs some modern day
Quality of life.
exactly. And it was
Okay.
because it was an Xbox exclusive when it came out. It's never actually been on a PlayStation console before.
Okay.
So
That probably was one of the. That's probably also why I felt they showed Alan Wake. While I loved that game and I'm very excited for the remake, I can see why PlayStation exclusive owners were probably even more excited, and especially after it's part of the Control universe now. They're trying to do a Remedy extended universe of games now, and Control was very much hinting at that. And Alan Wake, it was even included as part of a DLC. It was called like Control Awe, but actually, which stood for Alan Wake expansion.
I thought it was supposed to be another world event.
Oh, it could be that too. Yeah. But Alan Wake expansion was basically.
Yeah.
And then, good stuff.
And I will bet you dollars to donuts that there's going to be a few little things added into this remaster that will be more lore tying it to Control.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least either. Another thing I would like to see, now I don't know if they'll be able to do this, because it is, I believe, in the same situation that the original Alan Wake was. It was an Xbox 360 exclusive because I believe Microsoft helped fund it, so it was stuck that way for a while. But in one of the Xbox One game, Quantum Break, there's a lot of references to Alan Wake in there too, and it's a Remedy game, and it's under the same situation though. So I think Microsoft still might own a chunk of it. They eventually had to re-buy like Alan Wake from Microsoft, but the joke show that kept showing up in Alan Wake, Night Springs, which would show up as like a Twilight Zone kind of show to watch in Alan Wake, it popped up a lot in Quantum Break as well. So it's just like this week on Night Springs. I'm like, I got that reference.
Yeah, that's another great one that they showed off. I'm starting to get a little intrigued about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Me too, actually. My only complaint is, and I know they're trying to do a hybridization between comic book and movie in the looks department, but I thought Quill Star-Lord looked rather strange with the blonde hair.
What? You have a problem with the pompadour?
I didn't know we were, a group of Japanese youths in a street gang. In the 80s, for that matter.
Youths!
Yeah, youths.
Oh. I think here. So before we get into the big heavy hitters from Sony themselves,
yes,
I think they showed the 13th million trailer for Deathloop.
And I have paid no attention to that game. I have seen it, and it's just like, oh. And then it's never caught my attention. And I still, after watching finally a full trailer, I'm just like, well, I can see why that didn't come up on my radar. And what was your opinion on that?
I don't think it's going to be good. Let me rephrase that. Because it's being made by Arcane Studios, the same studio that made Dishonored. Okay. I think that the gameplay will feel good, but I feel like the premise that they've set up is super dangerous because it's going to become repetitive. Because if you don't kill everyone in that 24-hour period, the whole thing resets, and you have to do it again and again and again.
I gotcha.
It's like Majora's Mask without the beating a dungeon, it stays beaten.
Yeah. I don't know, and I'm also a little worried. It seems like Arcane Studios, they came crashing out of the gate with Dishonored, which really surprised a lot of people with how cool it was with all the powers and this not quite steampunk, but at the same time, kind of steampunk world that's all based instead of around steam, but instead of around basically whale oil. So
Mhm.
it tried to make it its own unique thing. And then Dishonored 2 came out, and it was okay. It was decent. And then I feel the Dishonored, like I guess the third game in the series, Dishonored Death of the Outsider, came out on a whimper. And I'm like, isn't this kind of supposed to end things? And, you know,
I thought it was supposed to be like a side shoot, not full game.
I gotcha. And I haven't heard no one talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's starring a character from the first two games. I'm like, we're having this character as a starting character? Why? As the
Right.
starring character, I mean. So who knows? Maybe if it comes out and I read a little more into it, possibly. But at this point, I have no real interest in it. On the other hand, though, I was really interested. At least the trailer looked gorgeous. Now, again, though, I hope to not be like overhyped on this, because I do like the style of gameplay of like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta.
Oh,
But Project Eve looked really cool. And then I also found out it is being made by the Korean artist Hyung Tae Kim, and he's done a lot of really cool stuff. He's in a lot of art books that I have, or his artwork is featured. And he's done, I believe he designed all the characters for the Magna Carta series of RPGs, stuff like that. So it was actually really cool. And this trailer was really stylish, and the monsters look cool, and the action looked cool. And this post apocalyptic world where it it kind of reminded me a bit of Near Automata, where you have these sections that are really high tech, but then you also have these sections where nature is clearly taken back over.
right, right.
But but so I'm looking forward to that, at least at this standpoint. That really grabbed my attention.
For a brief second, just a brief second, I thought that was a or a Parasite Eve game because they had
Oh,
because they
yeah, I
said
could
the
have
main
seen
character
that.
they said the main character's name was Eve, and they said the word parasite in it. I was like, are they actually bringing that back?
There has been talk from Square Enix, but we'll see.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of Square Enix, they showed the trailer for their game coming out.
Or
That
Smoken.
Yeah, that looked really cool. And for a while there, I'm that's not Rosario Dawson doing the voice, is it? For that,
I don't believe so now.
okay, I did. I was there for a minute. I'm like, is it? Is it not? But that looked really cool too. And so I'm hoping that goes over well. And it looks like an open world with like kind of the traversal method of the most recent Tomb Raider trilogy, which I loved.
So I actually know who one of the main writers is on that game.
Oh, okay,
Gary Whitta.
okay. Not familiar with that name.
He wrote Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He wrote Book of Eli.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he is
he's a good one. Yeah.
yes. I think he's also trying to get off the ground a sequel to The Last Starfighter.
Oh,
Yeah, this dude's good. This dude
I
is
gotcha.
very good. Um, so I'm fingers crossed on uh that one. I liked how the traversal looked fun. I think open world games are fine if they're a little barren. If the traversal is fun, if I just
Yes.
enjoy running across the field, or in this case, running across magic across the field.
Now, what I enjoyed now more recently, and I felt that Zelda did this very well, is that it seems like a lot of open world games before Breath of the Wild hit. It's just like, okay, for the story, okay, here's your next checkpoint. It's there. You got to go to your next checkpoint all the way across the map, and then all the way across the map again, and then back and forth, back and forth. Whereas Zelda, it was very good at encouraging you to explore and find all these little nooks and crannies and hidden little things. And really, there was only like five major points on the map that it seemed like you had to go to kind of advance the story. And And even then, it was just the generalized direction. As you went along, you might get sucked into another story that, oh, well, now we got to go find Hateno Village and stuff like that. So if that's kind of how the traversal is with this, and I can go find little nooks and crannies, and it encourages exploration instead of others where it's like, okay, go to this next point for the story, exploration. Okay, now climb this tower to look over and survey everything in the area, but then every icon pops up on the map, so you can just go here, 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 and get all the stuff, and then all the rest is just empty
I
space.
I will never forgive Assassin's Creed for making that a standard in games of get to the
No.
lookout tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get to the lookout tower also kind of seemed to have ruined open world games, and it's just like, I need to find this feather for my brother Petruchio. Quick to the tower. Oh, well, here's all the flags in Italy. There we go.
Yep. Really fast here, I just pulled it up. A couple other things that you would know Gary Whitta from. 2006's Prey. He wrote that game.
Okay.
And he was also one of the main writers on Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, 2006's Prey. Okay, the original Prey. Okay.
Yeah.
That was decent. It just it kind of floundered. Oh, Prey 2 is coming out. The here's one that has really caught my attention, and I hope I can play it by itself because, as I've said, listeners, I don't like starting in the middle of things necessarily. I like to see things in chronological order as best I can, if I can. I tried playing the Borderlands games with my brother, but unfortunately, due to life circumstances, we never got far in the first game. And eventually, he played it by himself and beat the games. But I swear, I'm sorry, that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands game looks hysterical. And it is absolutely right up my alley. And when they started the trailer playing Baby Metal's Gimme Chocolate, I about lost it. Oh, and then it's showing her world, and she's like, "Well, why isn't it my fantasy world have guns in it?" Shut up,
Dave.
Oh, it looks so good.
Dave, you've got me day one on that with you, because you know what that game is? It's a looter shooter. I'm all about the looter shooters. Give me the loot.
But I'm also looking at it, and it's just like, I love games that have like a fun aesthetic to go with it. Like I love Sunset Overdrive. I wish they would make Sunset Overdrive too. But that game seems to be following along with that kind of aesthetic, this kind of punky, bright colored, fun aesthetic. But at the same time, it's in a fantasy world with guns. You know, that is hilarious. So I hope that all I have to know is that Tiny Tina is basically like a crazy D&D player, and this is her D&D campaign that you're playing. I hope that is all I need to know.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I'm sure there's going to be other little things. And really, sorry, go ahead.
If there's a couple cameos that I just go, huh? But other people might be just like, oh, I'll be okay with that. And it's just like, oh, well, that was lost on me.
Well, and at some point you'll be able to catch up because they're making a Borderlands movie.
Oh, yeah, with all those celebs in it.
I think Jack Black is supposed to be Claptrap.
Yep, and
Kate Blanchett, I think, is in it.
I think she plays Lilith, who was the character I would play with my brother, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I think Kate Blanchett's a little old to be playing Lilith. I'm not trying to be mean or anything,
but that's fair. That's fair. Mm-hmm. Still not sure who Kevin Hart's going to be in that,
though. And then other things like that's when I started being like, okay, I can clean the living room. The remaster for Uncharted, that's fine. I love those games, but at the same time, I've played them to death on PlayStation 4, so
don't need to revisit.
Not so quickly, I feel. You know, if maybe when PlayStation 6 comes along and if they release like the Nathan Drake collection, well, then yeah, I'll probably be happy to by then. But it seemed like every time I was just like, I could use like another adventure style game like that. There'd be another Uncharted or another Tomb Raider, and that would satisfy that itch for quite a while.
Right.
Um,
And and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of meh on Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction.
that, however, I must say, is the only Tom Clancy Rainbow Six game I have ever been interested in, however. And that's because it's freaking aliens. And they're even at the beginning of the trailer saying, the Rainbow Squad has been, up against the world's worst terrorists and nuclear destruction and even viral pandemics. But now we face our greatest threat. And I'm like, I didn't expect it to be aliens, but now you do have my attention, Rainbow Six. You have never had it any other time in history, but you do now. So I'm interested, honestly. I honestly am. But it took a turn. It had to take a hard turn into sci-fi for it to do it.
Fair enough.
Because again, I've told you before, I don't mind shooter games where it's like, oh, I'm killing demons, I'm killing aliens, I'm killing mutants, I'm killing Nazis. Nazis aren't people, but when it's just like I'm killing people, how evil are they? Oh, well, there's this one mission called No Russian where you shoot up an airport of innocence. No thanks. I'm gonna go over here and stomp Goombas. Yep. Because mushrooms aren't people neither.
This is true.
Yes.
Let's get into the power block at the end.
Oh yes.
Oh, so first off, biggest surprise of the night for me: announcement of Wolverine from Insomniac.
Oh yes. I enjoy. My only thing with the Insomniac trailers is they were basically just teasers. So it's just like, now the Wolverine one was quite the surprise, though. That is for sure. I'm kind of wondering who they're going to have voice him, and it does look like they're kind of going for like classic comic book Wolverine, who's supposed to be like 5'0".
There's a voice actor who's already trying to campaign to get that role.
Oh, who?
David Hayter.
Oh, having Snake voice.
I mean, that'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't mind. Who was it who did it for X-Men Evolution? Was that Steve Blum? Let me look that up. I really liked that voice actor.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
because let's be real. There is no way they're getting Hugh Jackman for this.
Oh no, I think he really wants to be done with that role. I think he had that for almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got to be tired of it. Okay, Blum has performed in. Oh, it was Scott McNeil who voiced him in X-Men Evolution.
Okay.
Who also was the voice of like Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z and.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
And I know Hamill voiced him for like the X-Men Origins Wolverine game. So,
by the by, complete sidetrack here. Mark Hamill is phenomenal as Skeletor in the new He-Man series.
Okay. The one everyone's griping about.
You know what? I thought it was good. It was the first time I've ever cared about He-Man. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. The show is not He-Man. The show is very specifically titled Masters of the Universe.
Mm-hmm.
He-Man is not the star.
Okay. And I don't have a problem with that, but then again, I'm not going to watch the show. He-Man was on where I was just young enough. I remember I really liked watching it. But I remember specifically, it was one of my like first memories. But I specifically remember just one Saturday morning, it just wasn't on anymore, And it's just like, oh, He-Man's not on. But then I was very quickly distracted by the next show that was coming on. And by then, Ninja Turtles had come out. And it's just like, oh, don't care.
Right.
This is awesome. So I would love to have Scott McNeil voice Wolverine. Although, if as long as he doesn't sound like Solid Snake, David Hayter would be a good choice too.
Yep. That he would.
I enjoyed the trailer for Spider-Man 2. Love me some Venom.
So,
also at the same time,
quick question for you. Yeah. Based on that trailer, do you think they're going to introduce an optional co-op mode?
That's possible. I could see that. I was more surprised because, like, I'm listening to the narration and I'm like, oh, it's Kraven the Hunter. And I was thinking that's who they were going to lead up to be the reveal at the end. But then it's like he's actually, but then you realize it's like a conversation and the next person talks and you're like, oh, it's Venom. Holy crap. You know?
Right.
And if I recall, though, my thing is, if the ending of the first game is any inclination, I don't think it's going to be Eddie Brock as Venom.
Well, yeah, because they've kind of toyed around with that in the cartoon series,
and I know he's been different people in the comic. I know the Scorpion had the powers for a while. I know even like Spider-Man school bully Flash Thompson was host to.
Oh yeah, Agent Venom. He's actually
Agent Venom.
Yeah, he's actually pretty darn cool.
Okay, but still, I just thought that when I heard that, I'm like, Flash? Really? Okay. Way to bring back a one-note character.
In the, I think the cartoon was Spectacular Spider-Man. It was Harry Osborn.
And that's who I think it's going to be for this one.
I think that's a distinct possibility.
Spoiler alert! Sorry. A possum. We should have alerted you earlier. Sorry about that. But we didn't. Okay, so spoiler alert. Sorry if you haven't finished the original Spider-Man by Insomniac.
It's like 4 years old now, Dave.
I know, but still, some people, you know, I managed to dodge all of the major plot points for The Last of Us 2 for a year, and you know, I really enjoyed the God of War 2 trailer. Well, God of War Ragnarok, I should. It's not God of War 2.
Right.
I really love the direction they've taken Kratos because as much as I loved the original trilogy of God of War games, at the same time, it became very clear over the course of the games, you're kind of the bad guy in this story. And this time around,
it's a redemption story.
Yeah, and I like seeing Kratos has evolved. Now, the only thing originally when the trailer started was I looked at Atreus and I'm like, has time not passed? And then he spoke and I'm like, oh, time's passed.
He's taller. He's definitely in that transition period.
Yes, he's now taller than Brock and Sindri. He's like Brock's like, what the hell happened to this one? You know? And it's just like, oh, okay. Now, my thing, at the end of that trailer, they showed off that girl at the ending. My question is that Calliope, who is his original daughter with his first wife? Because there was, in one of the handheld games for God of War, which was a side game, he actually went into the Greek afterlife that wasn't Hades and encountered her, and unfortunately he had to leave her. So I'm wondering if there's some mischief going on.
Entirely possible. Because
she was that age in the original God of War, in the original God of War Greek series. Yeah, the Greek God of War, the Greek years.
Now, I never beat the last God of War, but so spoilers for anyone who's ever played it. Did they ever meet Hela in God of War remake?
No, they have not met Hela. Odin was only mentioned. They never even met Thor.
Yeah, kind of.
mostly Balder, who was the brother.
Well, I
Thor
meant
was
at
Thor.
Stinger.
Well, yeah, there was an end Stinger, but even then, it's not like he spoke or anything. Yeah.
Um, I think that little girl's Hela.
Oh, okay. That could be it too. That could be it too.
Um, I and and my if my Norse mythology is treating me right here, I think there's going to be a little bit of time play with it
Mm-hmm.
because in actual Norse mythology, Hela wasn't uh, the sister of Thor and Loki. Hela was
Mm-hmm.
Loki's daughter,
Oh, okay.
as was Fenrir the wolf.
Oh, okay. So you think maybe due to time travel, they're going to
Or
jump ahead? Yeah.
yeah, or something along the lines of, once she is, she always was, because death has always been.
That would be interesting. That would
Uh,
be interesting.
because everyone always plays death as like super sour or dour, and you know, I would like
Yeah.
to see some like a little girl playing death, just like
Mhm.
almost as like a
She
celebration of life.
yeah, she sweetly embraces you as opposed to a reaper of souls.
Yeah. So that's my theory.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
Complete side note: if you ever want a fantastic read, Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, fantastic.
Okay, okay. I have the Encyclopedia of Mythology that I gifted to my mother, which I continually
All right,
break out every now and then.
nice, nice.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Now I'm wondering though, it's just like, well, where do you go after Ragnarok and Norse mythology? But I'm also like, well, with God of War, you can kind of go to any mythology you want now.
so that raises the question, Dave.
Yeah.
What mythology would you love to see next?
Um. Well, I'm trying to, trying to think in kind of like chronological order for time, but the thing was also in one of the side games, you did see some Persian mythology enemies because you're invaded by a Persian army. So I wouldn't have minded to have seen Egyptian, but I think that would have been around. Wouldn't it have been around the same time as the Greeks, or possibly before? I mean, it's been so long since I've had mythology in
I
school.
That I do not know. I mean, I know Egypt has been long. It had was a very long time
Oh
period.
yeah, it was a huge, long dynasty. And at the same time, though, I don't know if the character of Kratos and Atreus are necessarily appropriate for many of the Asian, like, well, the really Far East mythologies. I mean, I can't see Kratos in Chinese or Japanese mythology so much.
No, but you know what I could see him in?
Hmm?
Aztec mythology.
I could see him in Aztec. Yes, I could. Yeah. Hmm.
I could see Aztec or some type of Native American mythology.
That's true. Hmm.
Um, but there was another one I was thinking of. What was it? Those were kind of the big ones.
Hmm.
Or because I'm wondering if he doesn't ever age. Could they eventually get to like a modern day Kratos?
Well, that was even hinted at actually in the first God of War game. That like one of the alternate endings you could get for the game was apparently like a military team discovering the corpse of Kronos and stuff like that.
Nice.
So who knows? I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, that's up to Santa Monica
Yeah.
Studio. I mean, they made such a great choice with the remake that I trust them at this point.
Hmm.
And who knows? They might find some like really strange, like, or just some area of the world that we just don't think about. Maybe more of a Middle Eastern kind of one that. I mean, they might want to stay away from Christian, but just because you kind of have to be on
Yeah.
your toes there. But
Well, not only that, but with Christian mythology or religion,
mhm,
there's not really a pantheon of gods. There's just
exactly.
a god, and I feel
Yeah,
I feel like it'd be a little bit of a cop out going the Roman route.
yeah, because Greek and Roman.
Tomato,
Well,
tomato.
yeah, and the Romans would adopt basically any mythology into their own. It did have its own set of structures,
Yeah.
um, but maybe even some like Indian mythologies or things like that.
Now, I'm
Yeah,
not very familiar with them. Are there any like South African mythologies in that time period?
uh, that's a good question. I don't know myself. Yep,
Fair enough.
yep.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Just looking
Oh,
through here to see if there's any other kind of standouts from the
yeah,
showcase.
I'm just trying to take a look at the list here.
I will be honest here. I couldn't care less about Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt.
Yeah, I didn't care for that either. I never cared for Gran Turismo. Ghostwire Tokyo did look cool, and I don't know, it's like something tripped in my brain, and I thought it was maybe based off of something, but I'm not finding anything.
You know what it
It
looks
looks
like?
to be, it looks like an interesting horror story, but I'm not so sure if it's going to be like horror mythology, like with ghosts and demons and stuff, or horror sci-fi.
I think it's going to be more horror ghosts, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting strong Bioshock vibes off of it.
Mm. I could see that too, with all like the first person powers that you had. Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
Trying to.
List is kind
Oh,
of ending now.
the last thing, which was weird, the Radiohead and Epic Games mashup thing.
Yeah. Watch that be a concert in Fortnite Radiohead, and I don't care.
So before we sign off for the day, let's talk about Fortnite and Epic and Apple for a quick second.
Oh, jeez. I forgot. What were they even fighting about in the first place? I know we did like a whole podcast on it, but just to show how little I care about Fortnite,
So
I have
the
totally forgotten what it was about.
the initial incident, the thing that started
Mhm.
off, is Fortnite slipped into the game a link to bypass Apple to buy V-Bucks, the currency for Fortnite, at a discounted price.
I gotcha.
Whereas Apple's policy is any microtransactions of any variety, there can't be any other direction or anything for it, has to go through Apple, and Apple has to get their 30%.
Mm-hmm. I
So
gotcha.
from that, it led to a whole bunch of things, including
Well,
like
I remember the naked banana controversy.
yep, yep.
Uh,
Which the final ruling on that was it's just a banana man.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep. Yep.
so, Epic filed a bunch of things, including saying that Apple's a monopoly, that Apple, was uh, was unfair and taking the game off the store, etc., etc. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Epic lost on almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
They have to pay damages to Apple,
Okay.
and Apple was deemed to not be a monopoly,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were complete within their rights to take Fortnite off the store, and they never have to let it back on if they don't want to.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the big ruling was they found that the App Store was being anti competitive by forcing them to go through Apple for all the microtransactions. So
Okay.
Apple is no longer allowed to prevent developers from putting links within the app to go to outside sources to buy the microtransactions.
Which is really what I think Epic was after.
To an extent, but that is going to completely change the App Store.
The App Store. Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to give you a real basic example of this here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Comixology?
Yeah.
Okay, so on Apple devices, you have to go to Comixology's website to buy the comics, and then you can access them in the Comixology app. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot buy from the app.
Okay.
Same with Audible.
Because they don't want Apple taking their 30%.
Yes, and they can't put the
Mm-hmm.
links straight in there.
Mm-hmm.
So now they can have those buttons to buy it straight from there.
Nice.
Um,
I got you.
so here's where it's going to get interesting: is Apple is a whether we like it or not, Apple is a big player in the mobile industry, right?
Yeah. And I have a feeling they're going to appeal this too. I
Oh,
really do.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
well, Epic's already filed an appeal,
Hmm.
but if this were to land as it is here,
Hmm.
Apple sells millions and millions of iPhones every year.
Hmm.
30% of millions of people's microtransactions through those millions of iPhones. Do you know how much revenue they would lose even if they lost like 5% of that? That's like $1 billion just right there.
Yep. Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but if I lost $1 billion, crying would be the least that I would do.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Yep. Uh, Anybody whose pocket's about to get lighter, I think their opponents may end up accidentally falling down an elevator shaft onto some bullets, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it shall be interesting.
It
I
shall.
because this may also have uh ramifications for things like Project X Cloud on Apple devices and Android devices, where
Hmm.
you may be able to pay through Apple or through Xbox for your cloud for your Game Pass, and then stream
Hmm.
straight through the app instead of having to
Hmm.
go to its like a website to do it, which is all kinds of funky. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
this could be a game changer,
Yeah,
and I'm and
it
I'm
could.
I'm super excited to see what happens with that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. 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 It'll be interesting.
I feel like I'm losing here a little bit in the nitty
No,
gritty here. So
I I just think, well, I think we've had a good episode. I think now is probably
yeah,
a good
yeah,
ending.
I was gonna say it's probably a good time to wrap it up
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
But tell you what, listeners, let us know what you thought was great from the PlayStation conference there, the showcase.
or or what did you think was missing that you would have wanted to see?
Final Fantasy
Certainly there.
16.
Yeah, yeah. What's that one game that they keep saying is not Final Fan? Was you said Final Fantasy, and then I thought it. That's not Silent Hills. You
Oh,
know, that one game that everyone is like, it's not Silent Hills. It's Silent Hills. It's not Silent Hills. It's Silent Hills.
it's a Hideo Kojima game. No, it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a rumor going around for a different game that I was really hoping that was there, and it wasn't, and it
Hmm.
makes me a little sad. But I'm still
Yeah.
holding out hope. I'm holding out for a Blue Point remake of Metal Gear Solid 1.
I got you. Yeah. So, were you upset that your Metal Gear Solid One game wasn't remake wasn't a part of that? Leave us a like, please comment and subscribe, or leave us a dislike. Are those a thing? As long as we get some interaction, we're happy anymore.
Yeah, just tell me I'm pretty.
Tell us we're pretty.
But until next time, listeners, game on.
Game on, everybody.